picking up where we left off, we were talking about the indicators on coupling, okay? So one of the tricks we teach in the academy when you start going to fires is you may become disoriented or separated from your hose line, and we can use a coupling in order to figure out how or which way the hose goes, okay? So you come upon a coupling, and if you see, as the coupling is attached, the female side of the shank has no bumps, okay? It has none of those rocker lugs. The male side has the rocker lugs. And the memory trigger that we teach is bumps to the pump. So if you come upon this or you become separated from your hose line, you know that the side that has the rocker lugs, the bumps, is the exit, okay? Find your way out. However, if you just become separated from your hose line and you need to get back to the nozzle, you would follow the length that has no bumps, the female side, okay? Anybody have any questions about that? Or about male or female couplings? Okay, all right, moving on. The other type of coupling is called a Stewart's coupling, okay? These are neither male nor female, and so they're made for like a universal connection. They are found only on large diameter hose, okay? And when you line up these two spots with the other side, it is just a quick quarter turn with a locking mechanism. In order to unlock it, you just you press down on the locking mechanism on both sides of the Stewart's, and then it just spins freely. Okay. On our engines, we also carry, as you can see, this side is Stewart's connection to connect to the hose, and this side is a threaded connection. The reason for this is that this connects to hydrant thread. Okay, hydrants have male threads, this side has a female, and this just free spins. Alright, this makes for an easy connection to the hydrant. Another another tool to use with the Stewart's connections. As you can see, this has a male thread on it, okay, and the female threads are 2.5 inches. Some of the hydrants in our district have only 2.5 inch cords. They don't have a 5 inch or 4.5 inch cord. Okay, there's not many of them, but there are. This is there in case you encounter one. All right. Another thing I wanted to show you guys. I spoke about the Higby indicators. Okay. The Higby, it's a Higby notch is basically the start of the thread, and it's to prevent the couplings from being cross-threaded, okay? And the Higby indicator is on the rocker lug, it's a little notch, and that indicates where the Higby notch starts, okay? So if you can see on these rocker lugs, there's no notch. There's one here, so that way you know that's where the thread starts. All right, just another tool to make things easier for you, especially when you have gloves on and you can't see. Okay, any questions about Stewart's couplings or anything else like that? Okay. All right, moving on. The next thing we're going to talk about is our actual hose loads. Okay, we have 3 pre-connects on our engines. We have 200 feet of 1 3/4 with a fog nozzle. We have 150 feet of 1 3/4 with a smooth bore. Okay, we will discuss the applications for both of those further on in the academy. All right, those are our 2 crosslays that are typically used for an interior fire attack. Okay, what will be known as an offensive attack. All right. Also, our 3rd crosslay is 200 feet of 2.5 inch smooth bore. All 3 of those are, the soft flexible hose that we went over. Okay. Now, the 2.5 can be used for offensive, sometimes defense, or fires with heavy fire load, such as a garage fire, heavy interior fire load. Sometimes it's used for a defensive fire when you're just staying outside of the structure. All right, and we also carry what is known as a skid load. Okay, the skid load is quite unique in the way that it is packed and deployed. At the bottom, there's a flat load of 600 feet of 3-inch. Okay, then it goes to 100 feet of 2.5-inch. There is then a play pipe, and after the play pipe, it's 100 feet of 1.75 with a smoothbore nozzle. The nozzle has a 7/8-inch tip. We usually choose the skid load when there is we have a far distance to go. When we have, so basically a long leg. If we have any thoughts about we may need to break down the hose load from 1.75 to use to 2.5. Sometimes it can be called like a transitional attack, whatever. We will get further into that in the fire attack chapter. But that takes 2 people to deploy, a minimum, because you need someone to pull the 1.75, someone to pull the 2.5, and then your engineer will break down the 3-inch according to distance. Okay? All right. We also have another 2.5-inch off of the back that's not pulled quite as often on our department, but it is there if you need it. Okay? We have 800 feet of 5-inch supply line on the top of the back of the engine. Okay. We also have 50 feet of 5-inch on the front bumper of all the suppression vehicles. Okay. That's commonly used if you are able to spot a hydrant very close, quickly. The 800 feet is typically used when you have a further distance or you're supplying another engine. Okay? Does anybody have any questions? Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. We also have 2 sections of the hard suction hose. Okay? It is 6-inch in diameter and they are 10-foot sections. That's used for drafting, usually out of a porta tank. Doesn't happen too often, but in some of our unhydrated areas, that's our best option. Okay. Anybody have any questions about our hose loads that we have? No? Okay. We will go over next choosing the right line. All right. This is a key element in a successful fire attack. So a couple things to consider when you're choosing the right line. First is size of the fire, and then also distance from the engine to the source of the fire. Okay, you want to make sure you have enough hose, once the hose is pulled, to go from the engine to the seat of the fire. All right, you don't want to be short. It's better to have a little bit too much, leave it in the front yard or hallway, than to cut short and you can't reach the fire. All right. If you are not sure, ask your officer, especially as new probationary firefighters. You can always ask your officer what he thinks or she thinks about choosing the right line. Another thing to consider is maneuverability. 2.5-inch hose is difficult to move, especially with one person. So if you are on engine 5, consider that. You don't have an extra person to help move the heavier hose. If you have a small ranch type home, you may not be able to get the 2.5 around the hallway into a bedroom. Up a stairwell, down a long hallway after you get upstairs. Just a couple of things to consider. You can put out a lot of fire with 1.75-inch hose. Okay. Alternatively, if you have a large fire, especially if it's defensive, you may want to pull a 2.5 just to have the sheer volume. Okay. And you also have to have the manning to move the hose. One person isn't going to effectively pull the skid load. Okay, one person might have a lot of difficulty moving a 2.5 by themselves. All right, don't be afraid to ask for help if that's the line that you choose, but just know what you're getting into before you do it. Okay. Like I said, the crosslays can be pulled with one person and a little bit of assistance from the engineers. from an engineer. The skid load, a minimum of 2 people. Okay. Repacking the hose, the skid loads are pretty simple. It's basically 50 feet, and then you do 2 ears, which is going to be the part that you pull, another 50 feet, and then you have your 2 ears. Okay. One person can pull both set of ears, or one person can pull the bottom set of ears, and then the engineer can pull the top set. Whatever works for you. The skid load is quite a unique lay. We have pictures, and we'll practice that after this presentation is over. Okay. When this is over, what we're going to do is we're going to get our PPE. We are going to practice pulling the hose with just helmets and gloves, just because it's, you know, for training purposes. And then once we become, and then we're going to repack the hose. Once we become proficient in that, we're going to don full PPE, air packs, but we don't have to go on air. We're going to do a dry run of pulling the hose, take our air packs off, and repack it. Okay? Any questions about choosing the right line? No?
Nope.
All right, okay. The last topic we're going to cover is cleaning and maintenance of fire hose. Okay? Fire hose can be exposed to several different types of contaminants in a fire. You have obviously your high temperatures, which can really affect the I don't know what you want to call it, integrity of the kind of this soft hose. Okay. You also have a lot of times fire hose is run through different household chemicals and contaminants, especially if you're in a garage. You know, various containers are exploding under pressure or under high heat, that kind of thing. Broken glass, sharp objects, those types of things can all damage fire hose. Okay, so also freezing temps. You know, the hose expanding from the freezing water, different things. Inside of here are rubber O-rings. Those can become brittle. They can freeze, which can cause damage. So the most important thing when you're done after a fire, when you're done, you want to clean up, is checking for any damage and cleaning it. Okay. What you want to do, lay the hose completely out. You want to hose it off. Visually inspect for any tears, holes, burn marks, anything like that. And make a solution of water and just a mild detergent.
Block 4, District 3. For a person feeling ill. Block 4 ambulance.
Thank you, Rick.
13859 South Mandarin Court. 13859 South Mandarin Court.
So what you're going to do is soft bristle brush. You're going to scrub the hose, rinse it, flip it over, scrub again, and rinse. Okay. Again, visually inspecting for any obvious damage. We want to make sure that the hose is completely dry before we repack it. You never want to repack wet hose. Okay. Station 2 has a hose tower where you can hang it. Otherwise, here some people, or Station 3 also has a hose tower. The other stations, you can hang it over, a ladder, stairwell, whatever. We want to keep it out of direct sunlight. You can lay it out in the bay, but it's preferred not to put it out on the apron where the sun and hot concrete can cause damage over time. Okay. Rubber hose can be repacked wet. All right, unless there's some sort of chemical tar, something on it. It does not generally need to be scrubbed. Okay, we 9 times out of 10 we just repack it wet. All right. No harsh chemicals used to clean this. Really, just mild detergent, and that's about it. Okay. A couple of things to look at also are over time the coupling can be separated. You can find a gap in between the hose and the coupling. That can be really dangerous. If that's the case, you want to tag it out of service and have it inspected. Okay. Same goes for any puncture holes or anything, or pinholes, any leaks, anything like that. All right. Fire hose should be inspected yearly. We used to do our own testing, but now we have a company do it just as we've grown as a department. So they come and they test all the hose on the engine and then the rack, and they rotate through stations. But should you work for a department that does their own testing, a rule of thumb is no more than 300 feet. So normally, you connect the lengths and it should be not more than 300 feet after they're all connected. And then 5-inch should be tested at 200 PSI for 5 minutes. All other hose should be tested for 5 minutes at 300 PSI, okay? You want to make sure that the couplings are hand tightened, and then the nozzles are cracked just a tad, okay? As you walk around, check for any tears, holes, leaks, any separation. What we commonly do before the hose is charged, you mark right where the jacket meets the coupling, and
What do you use to mark it?
you can use just like a Sharpie or something, to because sometimes if you use chalk, then and if it gets wet, you can't see it. So a pencil, whatever you want. And if there's any gap, then you know that that's damaged. Okay. Hose is then tagged, marked out of service, either re-inspected, repaired, or destroyed. Okay? Do you guys have any questions about cleaning and maintenance of hose?
We reconfirmed
Any other questions?
with the college
If you
grandson,
don't mind,
he
just
not
clear
had the resident
in my
and
mind.
the-
So,
his home
generally, for the stuff that's cotton jacketed,
Yes.
it's gonna be lower volume but higher pressure.
Correct.
In our department, the stuff that's mostly rubber, or single jacketed, you'll see, is for high volume and low pressure, right?
Yep.
Okay,
Correct.
all right, thank you.
All right. Thank you guys. We'll get our stuff
Thank
and
you.
go out to the bay.
All right.